Welcome back to the Bernard Lee Poker Show. We are very, very pleased to have our guest on. This gentleman has the record for the most WPT main event wins. His first one was in 2014 at the Borgata Poker Open. We had him on the show afterward. And then in 2018, he got his fourth from the Bobby Baldwin Classic. We had him on after that one as well. He's had well over $9 million in career earnings. And last week, he made the final table of the 2022 Seminole Hard Rock Poker Showdown. It had 2,010 players, over $6 million in prize pool, and first place will be over $1 million. They come back at the end of May, bring it back together in Las Vegas at the HyperX Esports Arena on May 25th to play out that final table. But right now, this gentleman has a commanding lead and also the name of being the only four-time WPT main event champion. After that lengthy introduction, welcome to the show, Darren Elias. Darren, thanks for coming back on the Bernard Lee Poker Show, my friend.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Bernard.
It's like the old video when they were naming all the things that Tiger Woods did, and Phil Mickelson's like, all right.
Yeah, get on with it.
Yeah. So, but you're really known for that, of having the most WPT titles. And obviously it is just getting harder and harder, not just because the players are getting better, but also the fields are getting bigger, et cetera. I mean, when you're talking 2,010 players to play in a $3,500 buy-in event, that's nothing. This is really one of the biggest fields that you've had. You know, there was a time where you probably wouldn't get over 500. Now you're talking 2,000 players. It's incredible. How is it? It feels just amazing to see that many players back together.
Yeah, anytime you get these kind of numbers, and we've seen them since COVID in Florida, especially at Hard Rock, where we get these 1,500, 2,000 player fields. It is a minefield in the sense that you need to navigate so many variables and wild players over the course of 3-4 days. But it is nice in the sense that if you do get chips and you do get it going late in the tournament, you're in a great spot, usually playing against unknown players. It's not household names you're up against here in a 2,000 player field down the stretch.
Right. And we'll talk about it later when we talk a little bit more strategy, but I'm sure that there's spots where knowing that, listen, I'm a 4-time champion. They're not going to hurt me if I get knocked out here, where for them, they're begging to potentially make that TV final table. That is almost the victory in and of itself for so many of the players. By the way, that's not a slight to anyone. Because I'll tell you right now, I'd like to make one of those, right? I haven't been fortunate enough to make a WPT final table. I've gotten close a couple of times, final 2 tables, etc. So I'm not slighting anyone that thinks that way, but you having the advantage to say, I don't care if I go out on the bubble, it's fine with me. But whereas everyone else is like, there's no way I'm going. I mean, I'm sure you see players when it's 7-8, they usually make the final table 6. When you see down to 7 and 8, there are players who have definitely enough chips that they can just coast in, that they literally, their brain just shuts down. They're like, I'm not, there's no way I'm not being on TV. No way.
Absolutely. Right? I mean, I've seen it where the chips just go lock and key and they're like, I'm going to cruise, I'm going to make the final 6. But I've also seen it go the other way. And this one sort of, when you have recreational players deep in these tournaments, it usually goes one of 2 ways. One, like you're talking about, lock it up, get the pay jumps, make the final table. 2, I don't give a shit. I shouldn't be in the spot. I'm going to win the tournament. And there was a little bit of that going on at this tournament where some of these guys were battling, and we're seeing 3 or 4 way flops at the final table, a lot of action, where usually when you're playing for $1 million, it's kind of money, the ICM and all that. You don't see a lot of stuff like that. So it is interesting what you're going to get in these scenarios. Usually it goes towards the nittier side, like you're saying, but this one in particular, I would say, kind of went the other way.
Oh, it's interesting. And I think that also that's the advantage of someone like yourself with so many years of experience, is that you can make those adjustments, where I think a lot of amateurs who go into final tables, I tell a lot of people one of the biggest differences of people who have experience, who have played for a number of years and considers themselves a solid player, if not a pro, is that they go in with a general strategy. But the one thing you'll know is that the odds of that strategy sticking all the way is pretty much nil. And how you adjust accordingly with the surprise actions of somebody, or the changes, like you thought he'd be more aggressive, he's actually tighter, or whatever it might be, that makes the biggest difference, because most amateurs go in with the strategy like, I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to be aggressive, and then they don't know how to slow it down, or the other way around. Do you see that a lot?
Yeah, I think it's really important not to be too rigid in your strategy, and kind of, I think Bruce Lee says, like, be water, like be willing to adapt and fill the cup, or whatever you're facing. Because if you go into a final table and say, I'm going to bully everybody, and you're opening and you're getting flatted 3 times by the guys in second and third, and they don't care, that strategy isn't going to work. So you've got to be willing to adapt and change and take what the table gives you. And usually if they're taking away something, they're giving you something else. So there's always a way through. You just have to find it and adapt.
Right. And again, that's also experience too, because you realize what those are, et cetera. So, but before we get into that, let's talk a little, we've talked about this before, but I'd love to kind of get a little reminder for some of my listeners who haven't heard you on the show in a few years, of just kind of how you started in the world of poker.
Sure. I played cards a lot with my family growing up, especially my grandmother. Not necessarily Texas Hold'em, but we played 5-card draw, hearts, spades, bridge, those kind of games when I was really young. Played a lot of hearts online in my early teens, like 12, 13. I was at one point #1 in the world in hearts online.
No way, really?
Been known to shoot the moon.
Crazy. That's crazy. That's awesome. I used to play a lot of hearts and spades, and I still do on my phone every once in a while. If I'm really ridiculously bored, I'll just jump on. Yeah.
I remember playing spades, Yahoo spades, and being like furious with the collusion. Like when I was 13, I'm like, these guys are telling each other's hands. But when Moneymaker won the main event, I think I was 15 or 16, and that's when we started playing Hold'em, and then that's when I started playing Hold'em online, and really had success freshman, sophomore years of college, playing online tournaments where I started to play for meaningful money, where I'm not playing for $5. I was winning 20 grand, 30 grand in a tournament or something.
Right.
So that's when it got kind of real for me, and kind of snowballed from there. Online poker was really good when I was in college. That was like 2007, 2008.
Of course.
I would play satellites. I would play EPTs. I remember traveling to Australia, Monte Carlo, all these places in college, and ended up finishing school. And then after that, played more live in America, and never got a job. Obviously kept playing poker. And after Black Friday, played less online and became more of a quote unquote live pro. And that was kind of how I got started, I guess, coming through the online streets to become a live player.
Right. Well, how was that transition when you went from obviously online to now suddenly having to play live? Was there a little bit of a transition with regards to tells and speed of the game? And as a lot of people who played online, boredom, because it's so much slower.
Initially, I would say there was a lot of struggles adapting, because I was used to playing online 8 tables, 10 tables. I was young. I was a very aggressive player. So kind of probably guys like you would see me at these tables, go, oh, this kid's just some online kid. He's going to try to bluff us every hand. And I did. And I lost.
And I did exactly that.
So I had trouble kind of adapting, slowing down, and also opening myself up to the information of the live game, where when I first started playing, I'd have my headphones on. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I was just playing my game, where now I kind of like, if you take in what the information the table's giving you, sometimes a guy will tell you how he's going to play.
Literally. Right. Exactly.
So
literally.
Kind of opening myself up to the information of the live game was key.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because I just played in the WSOP circuit at Turning Stone, and a couple of the guys were literally telling you how they played a hand in the previous tournament, because they really just wanted to tell somebody how they played it. And you're like, that's how you play, huh? Okay, thanks. And literally use that information against them. And it was pretty funny, because you don't realize that they are just, they want to throw out their peacock feathers, but they're giving away too much information.
Or even a bit of information. They tell you, oh, I got in a satellite. This is my biggest score, even if I get knocked down now. Right. That is worth something in their strategy.
Exactly. Yeah. I just wrote a book, Poker Satellite Success, and literally it says in there, listen to these guys before the game, because some of them may be like, this is the last time I'm going to be able to play a satellite. If I don't make it here, I'm not playing in the main event. Well, pressure him, or, oh, I've already won 3 of them. I'm just playing it for the hell of it. Okay, well, don't try to bluff him. He's not going to get
you don't
want
to miss out on that information because you're listening.
Exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. And, all of that stuff is so valuable. And that's the funny thing. I've actually been told by certain players like that know me off of the felt, that haven't played much with me on the felt. And they say to me, they're like, you're not very social at the table. And I don't realize I'm not being social. It's, I guess I'm just concentrating. Like I'm really trying to listen to everything, and I'm focused on everything, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't go out of my way not to be social. It's just more of, I really think that that's just like my concentration phase, you know what I mean? Like, and that's just what I'm doing. And then, maybe level 5 or level 6 or whatever, I get a little bit more comfortable and I can kind of open up. But it's funny. A couple of people have said that. They're like, you mad today? I go, no.
I'm just trying my hardest.
I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to do the best I can. I don't know. Yeah. So, you obviously, like you said, transitioning over to live back right around Black Friday. Maybe I'll just take one quick step back. How was it when Black Friday hit? Was this like one of the, for most people, it was really devastating. Did you have a lot of your bankroll online?
I was a huge online player, like centric around that, and had money on there, and kind of made a half-assed effort to move to Canada and keep playing. I had an apartment. I had an apartment in Ottawa and would go up there and play. And still continued playing a little bit like 2012, 2013. And then it kind of became too much of a headache. I was getting married, we weren't going to move to Canada permanently. So that kind of didn't.
The headache wasn't getting married. The headache was, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I mean,
we want to be clear. If your wife watches the stream, that she's not.
That was not the headache. But the being married relevant, because if it had come earlier in my career and I was 22 years old and single or whatever, I might have just gone to Canada.
Right. And just traveled wherever you possibly could. Right.
Yeah. But I was kind of a little more settled later in my career. 2012, I was 24, 25, something like that. So that was tough. Black Friday was tough and kind of interesting because with COVID, online kind of came back. So I kind of went from online to being a full live pro. And then 2020, I think I had the most online earnings I've ever had in my career in 2020, 2021. So it's interesting how it comes full circle, and now we're back to live.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, because a lot of people said that. A lot of people said 2 things that what happened with COVID. There's very few things that came out of COVID that were good, right? Very few. Yeah. I think one of them was online poker, right? And I think that so many people played online poker just because they couldn't get together. Yeah. So there was definitely a bigger boom. Mm-hmm. And then also on top of it, I think it allowed a lot of people to have that moment of, well, since I can't play, maybe I'll study, or maybe I'll try to get better. And I definitely was on both sides where I really tried to like think about my game, work at my game, listen to players like yourself of what you do, and try to really understand it. And I think that makes such a huge difference. And I think it's made it. And where people have just stayed stagnant, talk about really people getting past them now is because we had a year and a half, 2 years to literally go like, what should I do at home?
I had a moment kind of similar where I get home from Bay 101 in like March. It was like the last poker tournament before COVID, March 2020.
Yeah.
All this stuff happens. And I'm kind of like, don't know what to do with myself at home. I'm like just dicking around, being complacent, drinking, watching movies. And I look up and it's like April, May. And I'm like, I need to either get in the lab or start playing. I need to do something productive, get working on my career. And I kind of bared down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to actually play online for real again and get in the lab.
Right. And it is kind of this 4-time WPT champion, obviously hopefully for the 5th one at the end of May 25th, but you have signed with BetMGM, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Kind of linked to what we're talking about with Black Friday. Like I really feel bad for the plight of the online American poker player, where they've had this taken away. And it's been so long since we've been able to really play for real money online in big tournaments. We have some with other sites now, but what we'd really like to see is a lot of states with legal regulated online poker linked up you can play and it's all legit. That's kind of what I'm striving to do. And then using the connection with BetMGM, where they have all these properties, beautiful properties across the country. We've got Borgata, Maryland Live, Aria, half of Las Vegas.
There's one up in Massachusetts with MGM Springfield.
Yeah, MGM Springfield too. And then kind of getting back to the running these online satellites for American players to go to these properties and play 3Ks or 5Ks, major events. Kind of that's what we're looking at the next year or so. So I'm excited to help them with that.
Now, what states is BetMGM in right now?
Right now we're in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. And we're cleared in West Virginia and Ottawa, but I think they're still working on the software. And kind of Michigan just approved shared liquidity between states. So hopefully we're going to get Michigan shared with some other states soon.
Great. And how moving toward New Jersey and Nevada as well?
Yeah, I think Nevada has there's all kinds of like bureaucracy stuff and stuff that's over my head going on with Nevada. But I think down the line we'll have Nevada. And the goal is to get this stuff linked up. That's really the big thing, because it's nice to be able to play online, but in your state, those are small player pools. You're playing small tournaments. The prize pools are small and you're playing the same guys, which is okay, but we'd like bigger tournaments. Right.
And I think that's, as we slowly progress and hopefully it will it's not going to happen anytime soon. Let's be honest, everybody. Yeah. We've watched what's happened over the last 10 years and it's not going to happen soon. But I think the progression of getting online poker back in the United States, fully regulated and legal, is that you're going to have to get more and more states. And then more and more of these states are going to have to join up into blocks areas, right? Like I'm just being that in our area, like mid-Atlantic states, right? Like if you had Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, West Virginia, Connecticut, and then New England states, and then, like the central states. Once you have these blocks, now these blocks will join blocks. And now suddenly, listen, the government's going to have to be like, listen, this is ridiculous. 35 of the 50 states have it. We might as well just make it legal, and
the demand is there. I mean, people want to play online. You see it and they're willing to go and play unregulated sites, things like that. You want to offer them a safe product too, where I think with BetMGM and it being legal and regulated, we can really prevent against some of the cheating stuff, RTA assistance. Like we can be a lot tougher because we're regulated, legal sites compared to some of these other unregulated sites.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think just in general, all of these sites, it's the way we want to do it. It's almost like we're going backwards, as there are a lot of unregulated sites. Again, I'm not discrediting the unregulated sites, because obviously they're having some huge guarantees, et cetera. But we have to just be careful. We talk about Black Friday. We don't want, like they talk about in politics and they talk about in sports or whatever. Learn your lessons from the past. And what we saw in Black Friday, I tell a lot of people who are on unregulated sites, don't leave a lot of money on there. Just take them down, put it back if you need to, but don't leave a lot of money out there, because you got to remember what we remembered. It was locked up. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money. It was just in the hundreds, but I never even got it back. It wasn't worth trying to go through all that headache. It's thousands, tens of thousands, totally different story. The Blair Hinkles of the world. Yeah. The Blair Hinkles of the world exactly. And you don't want that, right?
In the end, I mean, we're all poker players and we all have this kind of, ability to deal with risk. So it's like, we see this big prize pool on an unregulated site. You're like, is it worth the 1 or 2% that I might not get paid? And most of these guys are DJs. So I'll play anyway.
Exactly.
You're always kind of assessing risk, and hopefully we'll be able to offer a better, bigger product to American players in the future, so they don't have to go down that route.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk more with Darren about the Seminole Hard Rock, making that final table, talk about strategies with regards to it for you on how to play events like this. Not necessarily the final table, because he still hasn't played the final 6, but leading up to the final table. I think it's a strategy that a lot of you don't think about. You only think about what to do when you get to the final table. And then we're also going to ask him the question of the list. We'll talk about that next time, next segment when we come back here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show.